Coming to... We have arrived at what has easily been the best season of Frightworld ever. 20 years later, it still stands as one of the best haunts I've ever been to. I think this year they kept the price the same, to $12 and $10. The Wild West town aesthetic I mentioned in the last video amounted to one side basically being a single 200 feet long factory that you walk into and out of twice. The other side was a 250 feet long show of broken civilization that you meander into and out of 3 times. To this day, I still wonder what happened to that huge animatronic monster caged in the facade of
insanity.
I won't reiterate anything for any of the houses, so here'll start a pattern of something different. The facade was about 15 feet tall with cages stretched between austere pylons and white and blue police beacons everywhere. The entrance and exit on either side of a particularly large cage with an equally tall, gray, slightly metallic, monster with huge crests on its shoulders, 6 in teeth, and probably 7 feet long flailing arms. I don't remember what sound it made, but it was just so cool. The actors must not have had a hard time because they were hiding in the shadows at the outside points of the path with strobe lights above them obscuring their identity. They had plenty of scare gags in the corners to use as well, including banging and falling drums. As an extension of the same front, there was a taper and gradient of paint and metal down to a slightly shorter but deeper and highly colorful sub-facade. It was a good example of some of the future gateways in which you have waited inside the facade in order to enter. A portion of the queue line was composed of progressively taller fencing weaving back and forth up to the entrance and exit. The facade had an announcement system grafted to it from which they played emergency warnings and blared sirens. There were also bubbling drums and fog cannons for the sensory overload of entering.
Toxic terror in 3D.
As far as I can remember, there really weren't that many actors, but where there were, the costumes were exceptional. They had damaged hazmat suits, respirators, mutated arms sticking out, really cool extreme immersive stuff. When coming to the face of
Reaper's Revenge.
You are approaching a 12 or so foot tall stone wall bathed in purple and blue spotlights, and the logo is on a sign at the top reaching to about 15 feet. The actors were very aggressive this year, blasting a flashlight in our face about every 100 feet of path. There's not much else to say as they didn't need costumes, just black clothes, so...
Castle of Fear.
It was very well developed over 3 years to the point where they had plans pinned and adhered to the mortar of the wall blocks, and the turrets and battlements were very robust. Between the 2 facades, they had the Grim Reaper with its scythe riding a rearing skeletal horse, and the queue line actually wrapped around a space. The cemetery was also more developed with these huge monuments throughout and a pond in the center. The actors had some pretty big, aggressive costumes, including a knight suit of armor, multiple executioners, and an audacious wizard cloak. Don't really remember much more than that. And now we reach the first house debut.
House of the Dead.
Frightworld's first foray into the traditional haunted mansion was very close and intimate, with smaller scenes and a more twisting floor plan. One room I will always remember is the intro room with the octagonal shape, arches on every wall, red drapes everywhere, and the projected bust giving the spiel in front of and above you. There was all the detail you can expect from eerie productions and the beginnings of a legendary house interaction unlike anything I've seen before or since.